You know, the first time that I saw these speakers, I thought to myself, that is a beautiful speaker, like really gorgeous. But more importantly, how do they sound? Let's get into it. Now, before we get into it, I need to let you know, Avantone Pro did send me these speakers for me to check out, but no money has exchanged hands, and they're not paying me to do this review, so all opinions and viewpoints on these speakers are purely my own. So back when I was building up one of my first home studios, I had called my personal Sweetwater rep, and if you've never done that, highly recommend. It's an experience.
Hey, this is Dylan, your customer service guy from Sweetwater. I noticed that you bought a microphone a few seconds ago, and just wanted to see if you had any questions about it. We could talk about your microphone. We could talk about your relationship with your dad. I'm here for you all the time. Middle of the night. I care about you, and I love you.
Sweetwater reps, man. They have this training in the dark arts of getting you to just spill your guts, right? So I was telling him about my microphones and, you know, this preamp that I was excited about. And I had this tape machine. And towards the end of the conversation, he was like, listen, you've got your front end figured out. You got these mics and pre's that are working for you. And a tape machine's good fun, but I'll be honest, it sounds like you can't hear what you're doing. I was like, how dare you? That seems so insulting, right? But he made some good points. He was like, you know, listen, those monitors that you're working on right now, they're $150 a pair. The other set of speakers you're using aren't even designed for music production. Like, they're just a set of hi-fi speakers. It's like, instead of buying that microphone, save your money and buy a set of speakers, like a good set of monitors. I was like, all right. So I did it. A couple months later, after pinching pennies, I bought my first set of like mid-tier monitors, and it was as much of a game changer as he was promising it to be. Like, I started viewing the stuff that I had as tools as opposed to like, oh, we're going to use this microphone and this preamp because it's the best I have. Now it just became a tool at a certain price point. And then this microphone over here is just another tool existing at a different price point. It's not necessarily on a linear scale of like good to bad, you know? That was huge. And ever since then, I've always said that like monitors probably need to be higher up on your priority list than they might be right now. So let's talk about the Gauss 7s. And just point it at the speakers. So we're not really going to do this. Let me tell you why. My heart goes out to those creators that make those reviews because it's tough to give the audience something tangible. But like, let's zoom out real quick, because if you point a microphone at a set of speakers, like, you got to think about it. Is that microphone influencing the frequency response? There's a high likelihood, yeah, that is potentially the case. You know, the preamp you're using, the interface you're plugged into, that can also do that. So, like, even if you're using the world's most accurate and neutral reference microphone, which, like, Earthworks makes one that's pretty killer, but even then, you're still listening to a set of speakers in somebody else's room with somebody else's treatment and ceiling height and all sorts of other things that can influence the sound of a set of speakers. So this is what I've come up with. I'm going to mix a song start to finish. I'm going to start on my Neumann KH120s. Those run anywhere between $1,500 and $2,000 for a pair. And then I'm going to start over from scratch. I'm going to take off every bit of processing of that mix, and I'm going to redo that entire mix using the Gauss 7s. And then at the very end, I'm actually going to include a mix that bounces back and forth between the two, kind of like using each set of monitors as like a reference point for the other. And we're going to listen to it. And then we'll talk about what we learned. So can you mix on these speakers? I think the answer to that question is obviously yes. I mean, there's two things that I look for in a set of speakers. Number one is going to be clarity, nuance, detail, right? Can you hear those things that you couldn't hear before? And then the second is going to be mixed translation. And in my experience, those two things are sometimes tough to get in one speaker.
I feel like you always like fight against like, yeah, you want clarity, you want detail, you want precision so that you can really kind of iron out some fine details, but you also want mixed translation. And those two things
are inherently opposite.
So the mixed translation on these was actually really good for the price point. Like there's nothing worse than like hearing the mix in your studio and it sounds great and exactly how you want. And then you bounce it out and you listen in the car or a friend's house or like through a set of headphones. And then you're like, that doesn't sound how I intended. Like where did the vocals go or whatever it was? These speakers are brutally honest, which is what you want out of a set of speakers. As for the clarity, detail, and nuance, I will say it was better than I expected again at the price point. Like thanks to that ribbon tweeter, the highs were very detailed. It was pretty accurate throughout the mid-range. And then the low end, it extended down a lot lower than I expected it to. Although I will say it was similar to the Cali Audios where... Okay, I totally forgot. I just glanced over this detail when I filmed that originally. So it used to have a pair of Cali Audios, the IN8V2. And the low end of those monitors kind of reminds me of the low end of the Gauss 7 for these reasons. I just forgot to add in that detail. All right, let's finish watching. It was similar to the Cali Audios where everything below 70 hertz, there may be a little bit of smearing down there, but I mean, honestly, what can you expect? And at that point, like, just get a sub, you know? That's gonna really help to clean up the low end. But also let's talk about the price point because this is the thing that I think is incredible about these. So $499 through some websites right now, you can get these speakers plus the Heritage Audio Baby RAM, which is like the little monitor controller and monitor switcher, which that is worth like $200 and the speakers. So it's kind of like you're paying $300 for a set of speakers, which that is like a pretty solid deal. So who do I recommend these monitors for? If you are looking for a second set of monitors, I would have no problem recommending these to you. Like this is a fantastic set of like second monitors for that translation and reference point. If this is your first set of monitors that's like under $500, it's worth considering. There are other monitors that I may recommend as like your first set of monitors, but these are definitely in the running and pretty impressive for what they are. And ultimately, if you got to know them well, they could easily be your main set of monitors. So worth considering. Listen, I hope you guys enjoyed this review of these speakers. I will be sending back these speakers to Avantone, somewhat begrudgingly so. I do want to keep them, but that's just not how this business goes. Thank you so much for watching. If you got something out of this video, please consider hitting the like and the subscribe. It means the world to me. You know how the internet goes. All the buttons that you click below helps me out tremendously. So, all right, I'll see you guys in the next one.